Is your PC getting old and outdated? Do you not feel like dishing out hundreds of dollars every year just to keep your PC up to date? Are you tired of the buggy controls and constant crashes when trying to play games on your PC? Then it's time to lose the PC and start gaming on console. Well, maybe not every game is better on console, but we have composed a list of 10 PC video games that are better on console just to prove they can be. Before we begin, hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all our awesome videos and click that bell to become part of our notification squad. NOIRE. This Rockstar game was a highly ambitious project. Released in May 2011 for Xbox 360 and PS3 and November 2011 for PC, NOIRE is a neo-noir action-adventure game set in Los Angeles in the year 1947. You play as an LAPD officer trying to solve cases across 5 divisions. From searching for clues to drawing hilarious sketches, there is so much to do in NOIRE. The reason the console version is better than the PC version is because the PC port of the game is downright awful. The PC port was ridiculously laggy, had a tremendous amount of bugs, and was, well, pretty much inferior to the console version in every way you could think of. The character models look completely different. Everyone looks like they are shiny mannequins. It's way creepier than it sounds. Even if your PC can handle modern games on max settings with ultra graphics and 120 frames per second, it's still gonna run this game like poop. The game was an absolute hit on both Xbox 360 and PS3, but didn't perform nearly as well on PC because this port was just bad. Many users even report the game being so laggy it's unplayable for them. Hey guys, we are very excited to announce the Premium Network. The Premium gets you early access to videos from The Richest, Screen Rant, The Taco, The Sportster, The Things, and many other great channels. Literally thousands of videos in one place with ad-free browsing. Check out the Premium by clicking this link. Sign up for free and start binge-watching videos from your favorite channels. Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII was the first Final Fantasy game to be released for the PlayStation. It was originally designed to be for the Super Nintendo, but the developer Squaresoft decided to move to PlayStation because of advancements of the CD-ROM technology and the fact it's a more powerful system. That turned out to be a great idea in the end, but the PC port, on the other hand, didn't turn out nearly as good. The port for Final Fantasy VII was a big letdown. First of all, the music of the game was a mess. The music was converted down to MIDI, which some of you may love, but last time I checked, the PC is not a Super Nintendo, so it should be able to have music of much higher quality. Even the cutscenes were impossible to enjoy unless you downloaded this codec separately. Come on, you should never need to download a codec just to enjoy a video game. Get it together, PC port. At least provide the codec in the CD. Makes sense. It was even re-released 4 years ago for the PC with absolutely none of these problems fixed. You'd think in the 15 years between Final Fantasy VII's first release for the PC in '98 and the re-release in 2013, the developers would learn from their mistakes. But I guess that's just too much to ask for. Honestly, it runs better on a PlayStation emulator than it does for the actual release. So buy the release, then just play the emulator. You'll be good. Metal Gear Solid 2: Substance. Metal Gear Solid 2: Substance is the expanded edition of Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty, and was released for multiple platforms including Xbox and PC to go along with the PlayStation 2. Metal Gear fans around the world were bummed out when their precious controls were all out of whack with this clunky PC port. Luckily, all those melodramatic cutscenes remained intact, albeit with much worse graphics quality. Well, cutscenes are a staple of the Metal Gear Solid franchise and take up around 90% of the game anyway, so that's to be expected. The main reason the port was absolutely terrible is because the controls make no sense whatsoever. You want Snake to go up, but he goes down. You want him to go left, and he goes right. If you wanted to simply play the game and enjoy it, you had to pretty much remap the entire control scheme. Not cool, Hideo Kojima, not cool. It's like the controls were for Helicopter Simulator 2017, which may or may not actually exist, because everything is inverted and confusing for no apparent reason. Graphics and controls seem to be the downfall for almost every PC port on the list so far. Bully. Well, this is the second Rockstar game on this list, and it certainly won't be the last. Bully was first released for PlayStation 2 in 2006 before being released for Xbox 360 and PC as the Scholarship Edition in 2008. In this game, you play as teenage rebel Jimmy Hopkins as he rises through the ranks of the school groups. It's as if Rockstar took the PC port of this game and bullied it to the point it had no confidence and self-esteem to become a good port in any way, shape, or form. The graphics look absolutely awful compared to the console version. Seriously, it's a ridiculous downgrade. It barely even looks like the same game. To make matters worse, you also had to reconfigure the keys just so that they make any kind of sense. Why in the world is left alt the default button to attack? How does this even happen? It literally makes no sense whatsoever. The game is also incredibly laggy, and even the most powerful computers will struggle to keep this game running at 30 frames per second. The game is even prone to frequent crashes, which is the most annoying problem a PC port can have. Devil May Cry 3. Devil May Cry 3: Dante's Awakening was first released for PlayStation 2 in 2005 and ported to PC in 2006, where it pretty much turned into a glitch fest. The frame rate of the PC port is very choppy and inconsistent. You never know when it's going to go up and when it's going to go down, which drives you crazy. The graphics are also pretty terrible, like all of these awful PC ports. The display cannot be scaled up to 1080p, but you can download a widescreen mod to make the game look prettier. Again, a mod shouldn't be necessary to enjoy a game. A game should be designed well enough so that mods simply improve on an already solid product. The complete lack of graphical options make the PC port of Devil May Cry 3 seem badly made. They couldn't even be bothered to put a graphics section into the options menu. There's just a clear lack of effort into the details of the PC port. The game also doesn't have Xbox controller support, so all you PC players with your mouse and keyboard will be loving life with nothing to complain about, while those who enjoy using controllers are left in the dark. Overall, Devil May Cry 3 is a pretty bad port in every sense of the word. Grand Theft Auto 4. GTA 4 is known as one of the worst PC ports of all time, and is the third Rockstar game on this list. Clearly, Rockstar doesn't put much effort into their ports, as this one seems as if it were ported by Nico Bellic himself. The game performed terribly on PC. Users with powerful computers back in 2008, who set their game to max settings, got around 50 frames per second with constant frame rate drops, which go as low as 15 to 25 frames per second, rendering the game almost unplayable. The game simply doesn't feel optimized for the PC in any way. Objects just pop into frame, and there is just so much going on at one time, it's almost impossible for the game to keep a stable frame rate. Nowadays, with more advanced graphic cards and processors at our disposal, the game can run smoothly, but when it came out, it was absolutely no fun to play. Rockstar also requires you to sign in to the social club to access online features in GTA 4, but there were almost always login issues, and it took until 2016 for Rockstar to fix the problem. That is 8 years after the release of the game. What a joke, that's almost an entire console lifespan. Dark Souls. As if this game isn't hard enough already on console, playing it on the PC makes it even tougher. Dark Souls was released for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 in 2011 and was ported to PC in 2012. It's known as one of the most difficult games of all time, and is made even more difficult by using a mouse and keyboard. To put it bluntly, the PC port of Dark Souls is not very good. The game was limited to 30 frames per second even if you had a computer capable of getting a higher frame rate. There is a way to dig into the files and set the game to 60 frames per second, but it increases the chance of glitching and falling through the map. That doesn't really seem to be worth it. To make matters worse, the mouse and keyboard controls are just terrible. The game pretty much requires you to use an Xbox controller to be able to complete the game. Those loyal mouse and keyboard users were very frustrated when they couldn't play the game the way they wanted. Even the resolution was unchangeable. There was a lot Dark Souls got wrong with this PC port, but the next two releases were much improved ports, so the developer seems to have learned their lesson. Halo 2. Oh, Halo 2. Bungie actually went out of their way to say it was the worst Halo game they ever made, and the PC version proves this. The game was released for the Xbox in 2004 and was announced to be released for PC in 2007 exclusively for the Windows Vista operating system. Windows Vista? Really? You gotta be kidding me, Bungie. Well, it turns out that wasn't really Bungie's decision. It was a decision Microsoft deliberately made to push sales of Windows Vista. That would not have been the worst decision if it was the game's initial release, but not if it is the release of the PC port 3 years after the initial release. Microsoft clearly had no idea what they were doing. This is all without even mentioning the game had a terrible multiplayer experience. Don't get us wrong here. The Xbox release of Halo 2 was universally heralded for pioneering elements to online matchmaking that set the standard for most multiplayer shooters to this day. Since the Xbox community was so well established by the time the PC port was released, there was little to no draw for players to shell out $60 or more for the same game that already ran great for years on the console. And since nobody was buying the game, there was no one to play the online multiplayer, so if you felt like waiting a few hours to play one game, that was up to you. Nowadays, most of the main Halo games are released solely for the Xbox, which is a very good decision. Saints Row 2. The Saints Row series may just seem like a Grand Theft Auto clone, but while they do share many gameplay elements, that is not necessarily the case. Both games are hilarious in their own right, but you can tell Saints Row 2 developer Volition was going for something even more comedic. The PC port of the game was intended to be released alongside the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 versions, but was delayed for 3 more months. Supposedly, Volition was so incensed at how terrible the port was coming along, they fired the company working on the PC port, washing their hands of the whole thing. That being said, the Saints Row 2 community created many mods that have made the game playable once again. The mod scene for Saints Row 2 is actually quite impressive, but even all these mods can't save this ugly mess of a port. The PC port was disliked because it suffered from frame rate issues, visual pop-in, and the graphics were just awful. Maybe Volition shouldn't have fired the company responsible for coding the game for PC, because while it is truly awesome that the Saints Row community stepped in to help, they aren't really professionals. Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 was released for the Nintendo GameCube and later the PlayStation 2 in 2005 before it was ported to PC in 2007, and then ported to literally everything else in the following years. A common theme with the games on this list is the longer it took for the ports to come out, the worse it is, which is pretty weird because you think it would be the other way around. Anyway, when the PC port of Resident Evil 4 came out, the pre-rendered cutscenes were a hot mess, with low brightness and no shadows. For a survival horror game, that's kind of odd to say the least. Also, there was no mouse aiming, so instead you were supposed to just look in general directions and do stuff. That caused some pretty wonky shooting mechanics and a tremendous amount of frustration. The PC port is just full of glitches. Some players mention their screen often turned white with a grainy effect at random times. They can hear a cutscene going on, but all they have is a white screen that's only missing some writing that says, "Please stand by." Sometimes their health indicator and button commands are also visible, but not all the time. I think it'll take more than just a few patches to fix this port. Well, it seems not all PC games are better than their console version. Let us know of any PC video games you think are better on console in the comments section below. Also, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button to keep up to date with our awesome playlist. Thanks for watching.